So today we have 3-pound hand weights. You could have 2-pound hand weights or your wrist weights as well. And then a yoga block. And if you don't have a yoga block, you don't need, everything can be done without. Or you could use a small ball. All right. So we're going to start with some shoulder opening and shoulder mobility. And then move into some really core focused strength work. Take a moment to find a seat, maybe this open cross-legged position, or as usual, if you need support to put under your pelvis to be able to sit tall with ease, feel free. You can also do kneeling on your shins, sitting on a chair. And then we're going to begin with some breath. And let's round the spine first and just allow the sternum to melt and the elbows to drip. So this is a really wide shoulder blade position. And then breathe into your back. And with this, we can see the belly. So there's some floating forward of the belly, but we're scooping to move the organs back and allow the kidney space and the low back ribs and the lungs to open. A little bit of back breath. If you want to put your hands back around those low back ribs and feel them, they open up like butterfly wings back there. And then rolling the pelvis back into neutral, unfurling the spine. Let the elbows come down now. Lift the collarbones up a little bit. It's like you're sliding your arm bones up. And try to slide the sternum up into a slight arch. So instead of shortening back into an arch, we're going to go up and forward. And then breathe into the top of the breastbone of the sternum. Good. Making sure not to over-engage in the neck to get that to happen. The lungs are lifting the sternum. We are not doing that lift. Good. Coming back center. Little side bend. It's just a melty, foldy side bend. You can take the opposite hand and anchor the pelvis and then breathe into those open ribs. Good. And in this position, we allow that left shoulder blade, even though we have this sort of anchoring here, to ride on the wave of the breath. So it goes broad on the back. And then the other side, just exploring all these places that we should have breath, getting our lungs open. We're filling here. We have lung all the way up to here, all the way down to here. Beautiful. Come back center. We're going to take our palms and press them down. The fingertips will kind of slide under the thigh. And then you're going to see, can you straighten your arms and push down so hard that it lifts the ribs up. So we're sending the ribs away from the pelvis. And it's almost like you're trying to lift your seat, like an Ashtanga lift. From there, you're going to see, can you hang the pelvis off the ribs? So a feeling of dropping the pelvis down. And then try to hollow the belly in. I'm going to show that from the side so we can see what is happening. So it's a lifting up. I'm going to exaggerate it, so I'm going to do it on my fingers, which actually you're welcome to do. It's like I'm going to lift up, and then I'm going to try to hang the pelvis. And then we see how the belly hollows into that space. So we're separating ribs and hips, and then let that drop. And then try that one more time. Lift the shoulders to go down, but the ribs go up, the pelvis drops. We're letting the weight of the pubic bone, the weight of the sits bones, tailbone, hang. The psoas lets go, the belly pulls in. And then let it release. Because we can knit together to engage our belly, or we can wrap around all that length, yeah? So here's another way to find it. We're gonna go elbow, holding opposite elbow. Place your forearms on the top of your head. Push your head up into your forearms, and then try to slide your back ribs up and widen your shoulder blades. And then let the pelvis feel heavy and dropped, and notice how that just hollowed the belly. And then take some breaths into the lungs here. And we're really currenting the top of the head up. Yeah, and I actually almost feel a burn in my TVA from this work, right? So it doesn't burn like a big mover muscle, but there's work in the core here to get this verticality. Switch which elbow you're holding. Take a little lift of the shoulders for a moment and just a grounding down of the sits bones. And then when you push your head up, the shoulders fall. It's like they're just hanging on the support of the spine through the forearm. Make sure you're not flaring your ribs to get that head lift. It's the back that floats up. And belly is deepening with the exhale. Lungs are expanding with the inhale. Yeah, hips drape down, lungs float up. Nice. Switch which foot is in front if you're in a cross-legged. Take your hands back behind you. Push the chest forward and up. Drop the head back. Take a nice opening here. Inhale. Oh, that feels so good. And then take the hands forward and take a round fold over the legs. Scoop the belly in and really try to open up the space in those posterior processes of the spine. So front body deepening into open back body. And coming up. And then we have a left hand on left knee. And then right hand reaches open and we inhale. And we're switching sides. Just moving through this opening of the chest. Lots of energy out those fascial lines of the arms, which are also acupuncture meridians. Yeah. How far away can the heel of your hand go in every moment of the curve? Let's take two more. This is our inhale. This is our exhale. Yeah, lovely. And we're going to do now an arm circle on the right side. So when we're doing circles, we don't ever want popping. So we want to look for a range and an ease and a spaciousness where we're not getting that popping. We often think, okay, the shoulder's popping, I must need to drop it. But it's compression and misalignment that's causing those things to slide. So give it more space, make some space. So we go forward, big spaciousness, up, overhead, all the way to the back. And then you can start to let it be as though someone's pulling your finger. So there's a little bit of momentum. There's a drop into gravity and then a lift with ease from the lift of the spine. And it's okay to allow a little rotation of the ribs to happen. We have two more. And then we're going to switch sides, left arm forward and up. Yeah, we need so much freedom and length in our shoulders overhead. And it's not a place that we take our bodies very much. So this can be really transformative for posture to just free the shoulder girdle off the ribs and off the neck. Good. Rest for a moment and then take your chin down. And when you take your chin down, notice the back of the neck is long. And then take your chin up and notice the front of the neck is long. And then we're going to continue to go down and up with the chin gently, slowly, and see if we can keep the length of the opposite side. So as I lengthen the back of the neck, I'm thinking of the front of the neck staying long. And then try to leave the length of the back of the neck and still lengthen the front of the neck to look up. So it's like we're walking up into the sky with our head getting taller and taller through the back, and then taller and taller through the front. And then make sure you're keeping your sternum melted and your back ribs full as you go. Yeah, so tips of ears. And then can you find that place where both are lengthening up? Where is that place where front of throat and back of neck are both lengthening up? Take a breath into your side ribs and see if that expansion lets you get even taller through the neck. And then drop the pelvis down into the ground away from that length. There we go. All right, beautiful. So we're going to come on our backs and we will find as much as we can these feelings here. Block goes between the thighs. I have it up against my pubis below the knee, hugging in. And we have pelvis currenting away, ribs melting back, front and back of neck long, shoulders are free. And we press into the feet and take a bridge. We'll take a neutral bridge, hugging in against the block and thinking of moving the block away from us as we lift up and then sucking it into the floor as we come down. So there's a real sense of the pelvis moving out to the wall and the thigh bones deepening back as we lower. Good. And then the next time we lift, we're going to take a pause. We're going to do a little, almost like a foot circle. So we flex, we're on the heels. We're going to roll over to the pinky side of both feet and then to the big toe side and then flex again. And we don't want pinching in those nerves around the ankles, so you can make it smaller if you feel that. But otherwise, we're going outside of foot to inside of foot and then up, both feet going the same way. It's like playing the piano with your toes. And then can you be so supported in your hamstrings that your ribs just hang? Yep. And then giving the organs into gravity means letting the iliacus, that muscle inside the pelvis, soften, letting the psoas lengthen and soften. Feeling like that open hammock in the back of the organs. Take one more. And then lift the hips up and roll slowly down through the spine, widening the back of the heart, widening the kidneys, dropping the tail. Beautiful. And then rest. Okay, let's stay here and just take the weights into our hands. Bring them right up to the ceiling. Find the sort of balance point where the shoulder is plugged all the way to the mat, resting on the mat, and the arms can just be easy to support the weight. And then organize your spine if it got disorganized there. So tailbone dropping, pelvis away, ribs melting, floating up, front and back of neck long. In this position, it's usually the front of the neck that actually needs a little more space, not the back. So make sure that the front of the throat is really open and the shoulders are dropped back anyway. That openness in the front of the throat might float the top of the upper back up, right? That little like presentation of the top of the sternum. It's as though you could fit a robin's egg underneath your C7T1, the stem of the neck. And then we'll take a bend and stretch, weights to the ears, and then lift. Yeah, just getting some tricep work in this position where we're training the organization of the core of the spine. So here as we're inhaling, we're finding that beautiful lung opening, the back ribs opening. As we exhale, we're finding that long waist from that deep hug of the belly. Good. And we're going to do 10 more with a little bridge. So arms stay up, press into the feet. Now we have all the points of the feet pressed in. Little hover of the pelvis. From that hover, you might be able to pull your spine even longer, squeeze the block more, and take 10 more. Yeah, even though we're bridging, we still have that space in the top of the sternum, that long front of neck. Good. And then are you really connected in your heels and all 10 toes? All 10. Good. Lift the hips all the way up, roll down through the spine. Let's set the weights down for a moment and take the block underneath the pelvis. So we'll go this flat horizontal way. Tailbone is dropped off. Block is just supporting the neutral sacrum. So if you took your hands around to the base of the block, your flesh should be pressed into that spot. Yeah. Take the fingers into the hip flexors and imagine a deep fold and a currenting away as you fold one leg up to tabletop. And then check, did you keep equal weight on the left hip as you did the right? And if not, take a little fix of that and then melt the ribs and then hug the belly around it. Keep the belly hugged. Inhale, exhale, belly deep. Add that second leg. And we'll do a toe tap. And as we toe tap, we're exhaling and wrapping the waist and melting the ribs. Good. Yeah, so with this one being a little easier than some of the ab work, we could really find a little more access to the depth, to the suppleness of the core. Like you can still talk, you can still breathe, but this is staying in. That makes it more applicable into our daily life and our posture. We don't want to have to think about holding our stomachs in. We want our bodies to just integrate and lengthen and connect. So find that. Yeah, there we go. And then we extend one leg straight and bend it in, and then we switch. Good. Soft breath coming in through the nose and out through the nose. Beautiful. One more. And then let's take one foot down and then the other. Lift the hips up. And we'll put the block back between the legs and tabletop. So take that moment now to find your neutral again on the mat. Folding one leg. Deep belly. Open chest. Add the second leg. Put the block between the knees. Squeeze it. Take arms out either to a T or a cactus. And then we'll move the thighs away an inch and in an inch. Just tiny. And they only come in as far as you can keep neutral. So probably just 90. Yeah. And then is that neck easy? Do we have all that currenting up? Like when you had your forearms on the top of your head. Leave them away, take a twist. As we twist, we're gonna anchor the left ribs to take the knees to the right. So it might be small, but we're really going for the oblique connection. So as we go knees to the left, taking that left internal oblique. Sorry, I just said my right some left wrong. As knees go left, we're taking that right internal oblique, left external oblique together, making that X across, and we're opening up the opposite, right external, left internal, and come back center. So if you draw this X, as we go to the right, we're closing from right rib to left hip, opening from left rib to right hip, coming back through center. Good. And some of that is work and some of that is release, right? As my knees go to the right, I have to let the back of the left ribs go. So that xiphoid process, the base of the sternum, is staying centered. And maybe you feel your inner thighs from holding the block. They squeeze. They also glide in as we come center to help find square. That will start to involve your pelvic floor, which is great. Good. Coming center and then release the block. Just hug the knees in for a moment. Nice inhale, exhale. Good. We're going to keep working on some arms now. So we'll come on our side, block under the head. Take one weight. You can take this underside arm, wrap it up around the block, but then stack the shoulders, stack the pelvis. Check that the sacrum is in line with the back of the head. And then take the lower ribs, slightly turn them down, and then think of lengthening the waist by hugging the belly in. So we have that corseting feeling here. The weight's going right up to the ceiling. We're going to turn the palm for a moment and just push the weight up to widen the shoulder blade. And then as you turn the palm back forward, can you drop? I'm not going to use the word drop here. What we're looking for is a feeling that the collarbone is going to roll up and allow the neck to feel spacious. So we have spaciousness here, but we're still supporting under the armpit. Take a bend down to the sideways, press back up. Your pec should stay soft. Your scapula should stay stable. It doesn't slide back to the spine. We're keeping a nice width between the shoulder blades, sense of connection here in the serratus. Just take one more and then we're taking another set of telephone. So weight to the ear and then up. Good. And we have the choice here to just relax right into the floor. That's actually fine. If we're going to get the engagement of length through the spine, we really want it to be all those parts of expansion. Pelvis going down, ribs going up, top of head opening and floating. Yeah, and so that float off of the floor with the right side that might happen comes from expansion. So our last one. And then rest the arm down. We'll take one set of rotator cuff. You might decide to do this without a weight at all. It is a tiny muscle, does not need a lot of weight. And we're just spiraling out and in. Take the opposite hand to the collarbone. See if the collarbone could be a little more on top of the ribs and wider, as opposed to it living on your front, right? It's more like having like epaulettes on your cape than it is like having a necklace. Yep, good, nice. As I'm opening the hand, there's a feeling of almost like tucking the back of the armpit forward and opening the front of the armpit. These are so hard. One more. And then rest. Good. Take the arm forward, reach it forward, take it out of the socket, and then plug it back into the socket. When we plug it back in, the collarbone's not going to hit the front of the ribs. It's going to roll up over the top of the ribs a little bit. Yeah, take one more, hold it in the plug, and do a little circle. And then turn the palm and keep circling. And then bring the arm up and overhead and just let it lengthen and stretch. And we'll switch sides. So we have block under the head and weight in the hand. And we start with just reaching the arm up to the ceiling and organizing our spinal alignment. Wide shoulder blade, wide pec, and then letting the collarbone sort of settle up over the top of the ribs. Now, I didn't follow my own cues and organize my spine before I moved my shoulder, right? So if the ribs are not in a neutral place, and I'm trying to get my shoulder in a neutral place, it's not going to happen. The shoulder alignment is very determined by the thoracic spine alignment. So really take that moment, find that full sense of expression of neutral spine and expansion through the body, the back of the skull with the sacrum, the full kidney space, and then take that width of shoulder blade and then openness of collarbone. And we're going to bend and stretch. Good. We can almost think of inhaling into the elbow as we bend, and then exhaling, the sternum melting down as we straighten. Good. Lots of free space under the collarbone. Stability in that shoulder blade. We have one more, and then we'll take the bend and stretch. Weight goes to the ear, elbow reaches up. And there's a spiral here, right? I'm turning the tricep forward and the bicep back. So our rotator cuff's already starting to work. Good. And then coming down into rotator cuff, elbow comes down and we roll forward and then open. Yeah, and I'm inhaling as my hand comes forward so I can really have that nice fullness of the curve of the thoracic spine. But you could also inhale as you turn out to make sure that you're not doing a squeeze back, right? We're just spinning the elbow forward as though there's a spit for our humerus, a pig on a spit. And we have one more time. And then we take that weight and bring it down, take the arm forward, take a reach to take the scapula wide and the arm bone out of the socket, and then try to plug it back in with that nice length of the spine, that lift of the back ribs. So this plug back is not an arch, right? We're saying, can we slide the shoulder back without changing the rib cage, that neutral, and then keep it plugged, make a circle. And then turn the palm, make a circle. All these good postural muscles that get our shoulders into a beautiful place without having to think about it. Bring the arm up, take it overhead, nice long stretch. Yep, and then release. Okay, so let's keep the block between the ankles, set the weights aside, and come back to them. We're gonna go right onto our belly. So you have it like this. So we're gonna give a squeeze on the block. If that feels too narrow for you, you could turn the block. Depends on your proportions. And then start with forehead on the hands and lift the block up and think of reaching the big toe and the pinky toe away on each foot and then set the legs back down. And then press the pelvis really, really strongly into the mat. Feel how maybe that engages the muscles of the spine just a little bit, but then can you take that engagement and current it forward off of the work of the legs so the spine engagement isn't a compression, it's a lengthening. Yeah, every vertebra walking forward to top of head. Double check you really kept your pelvis pressed down. So we have this play of like, as I press down, I might want to shorten. As I current forward, I want to lift my pelvis. Can you really, really find both? What does it feel like for the whole body to be involved in lengthening? Yeah, once you've found that, take your time, bring the arms out to a low T, a little bit of a diagonal down, and roll the palms forward for the pinkies to touch. And then we're going to lift the upper body up with all of that length and activation. Take the arms back towards the hips, bring them back forward, and then just release back down. Good. So every time, squeezing block, activating legs, reaching them away, pressing pelvis down, spine goes forward and lift up. There we go. Nice. And we have two more. And it's as though the sternum has eyes on it, and it's just going to look forward. Not a low back arch, even though the low back does arch, really is a currenting long in the front of the spine all the way up to the top of the head. The next time we go back, we're going to hold it there. And then you are going to take that chin nod that we did at the beginning. So we go, how long can the back of the neck get? How long can the front of the neck get? And then can I walk the back of the neck forward, keep it long, and add the front of the neck? And through this little yes nod, draw my spine even longer. Yeah, when you have found now that feeling, Pause in the place where both are long, front and back of neck, and do a little arm circle. Super, super straight arms, super active legs. Nice. Take a pause, turn the palms all the way up, lift the arms high, bring them down, turn them all the way out, bring them all the way around to the front. You can lower a little bit. We're going to do that one more time. All the way back, turn them in, lift them up, turn them out, reach them forward. One more time. Internal, so it's like thumb leads, external, pinky leads. Rest down, release the block, rock hips side to side. All right, we are gonna press all the way up to all fours. You are welcome to do this on your forearms instead of on your hands if you'd like. And we're putting the weight behind one knee. So there's that little squeeze on the weight. And then that moment of, am I really arched in my low back, round in my ribs, arched in my neck, floated in my head? And how wide can the back of the heart get? How high and wide can the back of the brain get? Check for a moment. My weight is under my left knee. Check for a moment that your right leg is really grounded. You're standing on your right leg almost more than your hands. And then we'll lift up to a donkey kick. When we get there, double check, is your heart still high? Is your brain still high? Is your neck still long? And then we turn the leg out and in. Just the leg, not the pelvis. Just the thigh. And then keep turning it, but start to lower it down. And if you're keeping your pelvis neutral, your sits bone stays high even though the leg is lowering down. And then we work our way back up. Yeah, just one more like that. Beautiful. When you get to the top this time, we'll pause in parallel and then a tiny little pulse. It's tiny because we are closing the door between sits bone and hamstring and opening the front of the thigh. It's not this kind of action of letting the pelvis be unstable. Just that little pulse right into neutral. And then can the palate of the mouth current away from the curve of the knee? We're going to do 5 more there. We hold the next one. The leg turns out. Take it to the side as much as you can stay square. Bring it down. Let it turn back parallel. Lift it back up. So we go turn out and side and down. And as much as possible, the sacrum is still facing the floor. Doesn't rotate as we open the knee. Yeah. Good. We're not going to reverse. We're going to do a variation instead. You're going to internally rotate the leg, bring it up a little bit to the diagonal, turn it out and bring it down. So it goes internal to lift, external to come forward. Very nice. Let that rest. Take the weight out. Same side though. We're going to bring the leg all the way back and up and take a pulse. Just really letting the spine arch, not worrying too much about the form, turning the leg out, letting the glutes squeeze, and then finding expansion from toes to top of head. Finding lightness as though you could just take your hands off the floor. And then rest. Take a wide knee, child's pose. We're going to do an intermission tricep press in between the two sides. So you can come up onto the shins. Take your weights again. Why not block between thighs? I always like a good inner thigh connection. I'm going to go a little bit diagonal so you can see. So we'll hover the sits bones up off of the heels just a touch. So it's this little hover. It's actually quite hard, a lot of work, right? If this bothers your knees, you can do this in standing instead. Okay. And then we're going to send the sits bones back and hinge the torso forward. Take a moment to just drip the weights. Just let them do this little turning. And then plug the shoulder just like we did in that side where we're sliding the arm bone back into the socket. And then we take the weights back and bend and stretch. I would like elbows in line with side seams of shirt so that you can really open the shoulder rather than bringing the elbow back and having it roll the shoulder forward. Where is that place where you're still in that back of shoulder rotator cuff place? And then with the weights going back, can we current the tips of the ears forward, the palate of the mouth forward, the front of the throat, the back of the neck, and then the pelvis is currenting back away from that. We really want that anchoring to stretch out of. Now we have organs falling down with gravity, right? Can we pull them up with our deep core with every exhale? We're going to hold the next one straight. Let's hold with the thumbs and open the fingers if that feels okay for you, and a little pulse. And then turn the arms internally, bring them a little higher and pulse. So when arms are in shoulder extension, it's okay for them to internally rotate. Yeah. And then turn them out. So now pinky leads, palm forward. Come all the way around, elbows up, and take it here. Tricep. Lots of tricep today. Good. Yeah. So this is one of those exercises that if you have tight lats or a weak supraspinatus rotator cuff, this gets pinchy in the neck and in the deltoid. So you have a couple of options. Remember that feeling of the lat currenting long and the arm bones spinning out. But if that doesn't fix it, this is not the one for you. And then you take one of the other tricep variations, right? We did 3 other variations. You can choose one of those. So we don't want to be working in the wrong place on this. It's actually not, so this one is harder to achieve than the others for sure. One more and then rest. But we set you up. We set you up to do it well. All right, we're going to go to the other side with the leg. So all fours or knees and forearms. And then the weight is going behind the right knee or the other side from what you did. Give it a squeeze to hang on to it. Take that moment to find square hips, deep belly, neutral pelvis, heart really floated, brain really floated, ears currenting forward, and then coming up and down. We didn't do that first, did we? We did that out and in first. Apologies. Come up. Turn it out and in. There we go. So this is a spin of the thigh, not a spin of the pelvis. So if I had, let's do hibiscus iced tea today on my sacrum. It would not spill. It stains. Be careful. And then you're turning out and in as you lower. And as you come up. Yeah, and let it be really free in the hip and really stable in the torso. Mm-hmm. Good, and then come on up. Take that little pulse. Forgot what order we did things in, but I remember everything we did. So it'll be the same this side to the other. So this pulse is just finding that opening of the front of the hip and that closing of the back of the hip. It's almost a feeling like you're going to stretch the quad to lift the leg half an inch. So really getting that upper hamstring, low glute, but that real active currenting open at the front. And then we turn the leg out, we bring it to the side just as much as we can without hiking the hip. And then we turn it parallel to bring it down and lift it back up. Nice. And maybe the breath can help you with this organization of the ribs and the shoulders. Maybe you can find the breath into the kidneys as though there's helium. So we're so light. Even here, we're so light. We're standing so strongly on our standing leg that you can just lift hands, right? This is our last one. And then in the reverse, we do the internal rotation. So it's like a little tail wag internal. That was not my pelvis moving, just the thigh. It lifts up, it turns out, and it comes down and turn out. Yeah. Internal and up. External and down, headlights of the pelvis still shining to the floor. Good, beautiful. Let's do 2 more. And then we're gonna let the weight go. Take the leg back and up high. Moment of freedom, moment of enjoying the movement without just letting that spaciousness happen. From the attention to the tips of the toes, the top of the head. Yeah, nice. And then rest, bring those knees down. Do an open child's pose again, widening child's pose. Shifting back, stretching arms forward. All right, we have our yoga block again. We're still on hands and knees, so if you need a break from that, you can put something else in and come back. We have one elbow on the block, one elbow on the floor. Yeah, so we're twisted in the ribs. As much as possible, even weight on both knees and square pelvis. And then we're gonna press so strongly into the left elbow and widen the left shoulder blade so much that it brings the ribs up and the right elbow up. So it's like when we do those hip schlumps, right? Where we're standing on the block, we're slumping and currenting tall, but our shoulders can do that. When I come up, I'm really square. And if you want to put your hand into your pec, this is not a pec action. That should feel soft. This is the shoulder blade wrapping around, almost as though it like hugs the lungs and the base of the sternum. Next time you come up, you hold it. Bring the arm to the side. Take a couple lower lift. Let's do 5. And then take it all the way to a twist. And this twist is not a lifting of the right arm. It's a pressing down of the left elbow. It's almost like this has resistance and it's gonna stay, but you're so connected into the work of this left shoulder that it twists you. Yeah. Good. And then our free moment, hand goes down, big twist, inhale, wrap all the way through, set down the ear, take a little press with the left hand to rotate even further and use your breath. Nice. Okay, we're gonna take the other side and we start with the right elbow on the block. Stay this way, then you can see what the shoulder blade is doing. Why not? Okay, so here's our slumpy shoulder. And then the tip of the scapula way down here is gonna widen, and that is what brings me up square. Front is staying open. You can see the shoulder blade wraps all the way around. So it drops and then lifts. Good. And the collarbone is moving like it did at the beginning, right? It rolls up over the top of the ribs. And then it's not that it pulls down, it widens here. We have one more. We're going to hold it there. Take the left arm to the side. 5 lower lifts. I did not have equal weight on both knees. Try to find equal weight. And then push so wide through the right shoulder blade it twists your ribs. Make sure you're not side bending too much on this side. So yes, there is a slight side bend right when we rotate left, but it is not a hip hike. Very nice, just one more. And then just take that block away. Big, juicy, open twist. Inhale. Exhale, wrap it through. Set the shoulder down, set the ear down. And then take a stretch. Yeah, you have that choice actually. You can push to get deeper twist, or you can go arm over head. Both feel amazing. Okay, let's go on our back. So, no props for this last part. And extend the legs out straight. And then I'm just scooting back because I want my heels on the mat because I want that little sticky hook. So feel free to do that. And we're going to take our little bounce, right? So the feet are sort of flexing and pointing, but it's more a feeling of rocking the heels, and then it rocks the whole body. Soften so much in the organs, it rocks the organs. Soften so much in the back and in the chest that it rocks the lungs and the throat. Soften so much in the back of the neck that it rocks the brain. Yeah. And then rest, let the legs fall out. Take hands on the belly. Give a little extra jiggle, a little extra rocking there. Notice where maybe there's tension. Put a little bit more jiggle in that spot. And then palms up, bend the knees. Wide, feet as wide as the mat. And little rocks side to side of the thighs. And this is much less of a spine twist. It's really about internal, external rotation of the thighs and how the movement of the thighs can move the pelvis and the spine. So I'm not doing anything in my torso. I'm just sort of playing like a little, it's like ping pong with gravity with the thigh bones. And finding that continuous connection up into torso. Yeah. And then bring soles of the feet together. Drop the knees open. If this feels like a strain for you, you can always put blocks under your thighs. Let's take arms up, palms together. Reach up so high that your back ribs widen. And then mine widened so much I needed to walk my ribs away from my hips to really be in my most spacious self. Take the fingers to one side to twist the ribs. And roll back through center and then go the other way. I'm hoping the sound is okay today because they're jackhammering on the street and this room is quite soundproof. So normally it's okay, but it's coming through today. New York City streets. Come back center, flex the fingers back, then the palms back, reach the heel of the hand up. Take the arms out and open to a diagonal. See if you can find that sense of openness we found with this move at the beginning, all the way across through the chest into the torso. And then try to slide the hands away on the ground as you drop your tail a little bit more. Yeah, and then with that openness through the front body, can you melt the low ribs and allow the front of the neck to open? Beautiful. Take one last breath. Good. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining me today. And I will see you again soon. Bye.